I never thought I'd be standing in my dead father's kitchen, watching my older brother change the locks while my mother's ashes were still warm on the mantelpiece. But here we are. Let me back up. I'm 29F, my brother Kyle is 34M, and until 6 weeks ago, I thought we were a normal family. Maybe a little distant, maybe a little awkward at holidays, but normal. I'm a veterinary technician in Columbus, Ohio. Kyle is a regional sales manager for some medical device company in Chicago. Our dad, Richard, passed away from pancreatic cancer on January 12th. Our mom died 3 years before that. Dad never remarried. It was just us. Growing up, Kyle was the golden child. Not in an obvious way. More like a slow drip. Kyle got the car when he turned 16. I got told we couldn't afford a second one. Kyle's college was fully paid. I got told to apply for scholarships because money was tight. When Kyle got married the first time, Dad threw a reception at the country club. When I got engaged to my partner Devin, 31M, Dad said he'd chip in $500. I never made a big deal out of it because that's just how it was. Dad loved us both. He just loved Kyle a little louder. When Dad got his diagnosis, I was the one who moved back home. I took a leave from work, then eventually transferred to a clinic 20 minutes from his house. Devin and I gave up our apartment in the city and moved into Dad's spare bedroom. For 11 months, I managed his medications, drove him to chemo, cleaned up after the bad nights, held his hand when he was scared. Kyle visited 4 times. 4 times in 11 months. He'd fly in on a Friday, leave Sunday morning, and always had a reason. Work was crazy. His daughter had soccer. His new girlfriend didn't like him being away. I'm not saying this to paint myself as a saint. I'm saying it because of what happened next. Dad passed on a Tuesday. Devin and I were both there. Kyle flew in Wednesday night. The funeral was Saturday. It was small, maybe 40 people. Dad wasn't a social butterfly. Kyle gave a nice eulogy. I couldn't get through mine without breaking down, so Devin read it for me. After the reception, Kyle pulled me aside in the hallway of the funeral home and said, "We should talk about the house." I said, "Kyle, Dad's been dead for 4 days. He said, "I know, but I've already talked to a realtor. Market's hot right now. We could list by March and close by April." I told him I needed time, that I was still living there, that I hadn't even gone through Dad's things yet. He said, "Well, the sooner we get it listed, the sooner we both get our share." Then he flew back to Chicago the next morning. Here's where it gets ugly. The following week, I found the will. Not the will Kyle knew about. A different one. See, Dad had a will drawn up in 2019 that split everything 50-50. The house, the savings account, the small investment portfolio. Kyle and I both knew about that one because Dad told us at Thanksgiving that year. Very matter of fact. You each get half, be nice to each other. But in August of last year, 3 months before he died, Dad went to a different attorney and drew up a new will. He left it in a manila envelope in his nightstand drawer, labeled "For Sarah." That's me. The new will left me the house outright. It left me 70% of the investment portfolio. Kyle got 30% of the portfolio and the savings account, which had about $11,000 in it. The total estate was worth roughly $420,000. Under the new will, I was getting around $340,000. Kyle was getting about $80,000. There was also a letter. Handwritten, 2 pages. I sat on the edge of Dad's bed and read it 3 times. He wrote that he knew he hadn't been fair to me growing up. That he'd always found it easier to show love to Kyle because Kyle was so much like him, confident and loud and sure of himself. He said watching me come home to take care of him was the thing that finally made him see clearly. He wrote, "Kyle visits when it's convenient. You moved your whole life. I can't make up for 30 years, but I can make sure you're taken care of." I cried for about 2 hours. Then I called the attorney whose name was on the will. She confirmed everything. It was legitimate, properly witnessed, properly filed. It superseded the 2019 will entirely. I called Kyle that Friday. I said, "I found a new will. Dad updated it last year. The split is different." Dead silence. Then he said, "Different how?" I explained. He laughed. Actually laughed. Then he said, "That's not real. Dad wouldn't do that. You probably had him sign something when he was on morphine and didn't know what he was doing." I said, "Kyle, he was lucid in August. He didn't start morphine until November. The attorney can confirm." He said, "I'm calling my own lawyer. This is garbage. You manipulated a dying man." Then he hung up. Over the next 2 weeks, Kyle turned into someone I didn't recognize. He called our Aunt Linda and told her I had forged the will. He posted on Facebook, not naming me directly, but writing things like, Funny how some people only take care of the elderly when there's money involved. 3 of our cousins texted me asking if it was true that I'd stolen Dad's estate. His ex-wife, who I'd always been close with, sent me a message saying she was sorry but she had to stay out of it. Then came the locks. I came home from work on a Wednesday and Kyle was at the house. He'd driven from Chicago. He had a locksmith there changing the front and back door locks. I pulled into the driveway and he walked out onto the porch and said, "This house is half mine under the real will. I'm protecting my asset." I said, "Kyle, I have the legal will. You can't do this." He said, "We'll see what a judge says." Devin, who is normally the calmest person alive, got out of the car and said, "Man, her dad just died. What is wrong with you?" Kyle told him to stay out of family business. The locksmith looked like he wanted to evaporate. I called the attorney. She called Kyle's attorney. Within a week, I had a court order confirming me as the executor and sole occupant of the house pending probate. Kyle was ordered not to change any locks, remove any property, or interfere with the estate. When he got served, he called me and said, "You're dead to me. You know that, right? You took everything." I said, "Dad made this decision, Kyle. Not me." He said, "Yeah, because you were in his ear for a year while I was living my life." That one actually stung. Because in a twisted way, that's exactly what happened. I was there and he wasn't. But I wasn't there for the money. I was there because it was Dad, and he was dying, and someone had to show up. Probate is ongoing now. Kyle's lawyer filed a contest, claiming undue influence and diminished capacity. My attorney says it's weak because Dad used an independent lawyer, the will was witnessed by 2 people who aren't family, and his oncologist can testify he was mentally sharp until at least October. But it's still going to drag out for months and cost us both money that's coming out of the estate anyway. The family is split. Aunt Linda believes Kyle because she always thought I was the quiet, sneaky one. Our Uncle Rob, Dad's brother, read the letter and told Kyle to grow up. 2 of my cousins are on my side. One won't talk to me at all. My grandmother, who is 87, called me and said, "Your father loved you both, but he saw who showed up. Don't feel guilty about that." Devin has been incredible through all of this. He's the one who keeps me from spiraling at 2 in the morning when I start wondering if Kyle is right, if maybe I did influence Dad somehow just by being there. Devin always says the same thing. Being present isn't manipulation. It's love. As of now, Kyle and I haven't spoken in 3 weeks. Last I heard from our cousin, he's telling people I'm going to owe him hundreds of thousands when the contest is settled. I'm told his girlfriend is pushing him hard on this because she thought they were getting a big payout. I keep going back to the letter. Dad wrote, "I don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to feel seen." I read that line almost every day. Some days it helps. Some days it makes me cry because it took him dying to say it. I've kept the house exactly as it was. His coffee mug is still by the sink. His reading glasses are still on the end table. I'm not ready to change anything yet. Part of me wants to reach out to Kyle. Not to apologize. Just to say that this doesn't have to be how it ends. But then I remember him standing on that porch with the locksmith and telling Devin to mind his business 4 days after I'd cleaned our father's blood off the bathroom floor. And I think maybe some things you can't come back from. So, am I wrong here?